There comes a time in many people's lives when they feel something is missing. Everything may seem fine on the outside. You may have a job, a family, a place to live. You may even feel happy at times. But still, there is a quiet feeling deep inside, a question, a kind of calling that you cannot explain. This is not a problem to be fixed. It is not sadness or depression. It is something different, something ancient. This feeling is the beginning of the spiritual journey. It is the soul beginning to wake up. You may feel it when you are alone, looking at the sky, or walking through a forest. You may feel it during moments of silence, when no one else is around. It is a soft voice that says, "There is more." In Buddhism, we see this longing as a precious moment. It means your heart is ready to see beyond the surface of life. Not everyone hears this call. Many people keep running, chasing pleasure or success. But some, like you, stop for a moment, and they listen. That listening is very important. It is not easy because the world teaches us to ignore it, to keep moving, to keep doing. But the soul asks us to pause, to become quiet enough to hear what is inside. Sometimes this call appears during a time of loss, when someone we love passes away, when we lose something important. The pain opens a door. Through that door, the deeper part of ourselves can speak. It asks, "What is life really about?" When you start to ask that question, you are already on the path. There is no need to be afraid. The spiritual path is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you really are. The quiet feeling inside is not weakness. It is truth. It is an invitation to go deeper, to explore what cannot be seen with the eyes. You don't need to have all the answers. You only need to say yes to the journey. And when you do, the path will begin to unfold, step by step, from the inside out. Many people believe that if they have enough money, success or comfort, they will feel complete. From a young age, we are taught to work hard, achieve goals, and collect things. A house, a car, a good job. These things are not bad, but they are not everything. The soul needs something deeper. The material world is always changing. Things break. People come and go. Our bodies age. Even the strongest and richest person cannot escape this truth. When we place all our hope in things that change, we feel afraid. We worry about losing what we have. We try to hold on tightly. But this only creates more stress. True peace does not come from what we own. It comes from what we understand. When we see clearly that the material world is not stable, we stop trying to find lasting happiness there. We begin to look in another direction, inside, toward the part of us that does not change. This is not an idea to believe. It is something to see for yourself. Have you ever gotten something you really wanted, only to feel empty again later? That is not failure. It is a message. It shows that the outer world cannot satisfy the deep hunger within. In Buddhism, we do not reject the world. We live in it with care and respect. But we also know it cannot give us what the soul is truly seeking. The deep joy, the quiet strength, the feeling of being whole, these things are not found in a shopping cart or a bank account. They rise from within when we stop chasing and begin seeing. There is nothing wrong with enjoying simple pleasures. A warm meal, a soft breeze, a kind smile. But if we think these are the goal of life, we miss something greater. The soul is always pointing beyond the surface. It asks us to open our eyes, to see the limits of what we can touch, and to begin exploring what we can only feel. When we understand the limits of the material world, we can finally be free from fear. We can enjoy what we have without needing it to complete us. And in that freedom, we take one more step toward awakening. When people speak about the soul, they often use different words. Some say spirit, others say inner self, or even true nature. In Buddhism, we sometimes speak of the mind that is not touched by confusion. Whatever words you choose, the meaning is the same. There is something inside you that is deeper than your name, your body, or your thoughts. Most of the time, we live on the surface. We wake up, go to work, talk to people, check our phones. Our attention is pulled in many directions. We forget that we are more than what we do. But sometimes, there is a moment when the noise becomes quiet. You might be watching a sunset or sitting alone at night. In that moment, you feel something deeper, still, calm, and clear. That is the soul. The soul is not a thing we can see. It is not made of flesh or bone, but it is real. It is the part of us that feels beauty, that asks big questions, that wants to love without limits. It is the part that does not get old, the part that watches, even when the world around us is changing. Many people do not take time to notice this part of themselves. They are too busy or too tired. But it is always there, waiting. When you stop for a moment and become quiet, you can feel it. Like the bottom of a deep lake, still and unmoving, even when the waves above are rough. This is why spiritual life is not about adding more. It is about seeing what has always been there. The soul is not far away. It is not something you need to earn. It is already within you. You only need to stop looking outside and turn inward. Understanding the nature of the soul is not something that happens all at once. It comes slowly, like the light of morning. At first, only a soft glow. But as you continue, more becomes clear. And as it becomes clear, your life begins to change. You stop living only for the surface. You begin to live from a place of truth. We live in a time filled with sound. Not just noise from cars or machines, but noise from thoughts, from screens, from endless information. Our phones buzz. Messages arrive. News flashes across our eyes. It never stops. Many people feel tired, not just in their bodies, but in their hearts. They long for stillness, even if they don't know it. Stillness is not just silence. It is a deep quiet that comes from within. You can be in a loud city and still feel it. Or you can be in a quiet room and feel restless. True stillness is not about the place. It is about how we relate to each moment. It is a space where the mind can rest, a place where we are not chasing or escaping anything. Many people fear stillness. When things get quiet, they suddenly hear their thoughts, doubts, regrets, old memories. This can feel uncomfortable, but it is also a doorway. The soul speaks in quiet moments. If we are always distracted, we never hear its voice. In Buddhism, we say that a calm mind sees clearly, just like a pond reflects the sky when the water is still. If the surface is disturbed, we cannot see anything below. In the same way, when our minds are busy, we cannot understand ourselves or the world. But when we become still, something beautiful appears. Clarity, insight, peace. You do not need to go to the mountains to find this stillness. You can begin where you are. Even 1 minute of quiet, with your phone turned off, your eyes gently closed, can begin to open the door. The world may still be loud, but inside, a small light starts to shine. Stillness is not escape. It is not running away from life. It is the opposite. It is turning toward life, with open eyes and an open heart. It helps us feel more alive, not less. It helps us see what really matters. As the world moves faster and faster, the value of stillness becomes greater. It is not easy, but it is always available. And the more you return to it, the more it welcomes you. Like an old friend, it waits without judgment. In that quiet space, the soul can breathe. Turning inward is not always easy. Many people want to grow spiritually, but they often look for answers outside. They search for special places, teachers, or books. These can be helpful. But the most important part of the journey is inside you. It begins when you stop running and start looking within. To begin this inner journey, we must face ourselves honestly. That means looking at not only our good qualities, but also the parts we try to hide. Our fears, our anger, our jealousy, our mistakes. Many people avoid this because it feels painful. But the truth is, when we face these parts, we begin to heal. Imagine a room that has been closed for many years. It may be full of dust and shadows. But when you open the door and let in light, it becomes clear again. In the same way, when you bring gentle awareness to your inner world, even the darkest parts begin to change. Not through force, but through seeing. Honesty is the key. Not the kind that judges or blames, but the kind that simply says, "This is what I see." You don't have to be perfect. No one is. You don't need to fix everything right away. You only need to look with care and courage. Many people are surprised when they begin this journey. They discover not only pain, but also strength they didn't know they had. They find that beneath the fear is softness. Beneath the anger is a wish to be safe. Beneath the sadness is a deep longing to be loved and understood. When we see these truths, we become more kind, not only to others, but also to ourselves. Facing ourselves is not a one-time thing. It is a lifelong path. Some days are clear, others are cloudy. But each step brings us closer to the truth of who we are. And as we grow more honest, we grow more free. Spiritual growth is not about escaping who you are. It is about meeting yourself fully, with open eyes and an open heart. When you do this, you begin to live from a deeper place. And from that place, true change becomes possible. Life is made of moments. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, only now. But many people live as if they are somewhere else. Their bodies are here, but their minds are busy, thinking about what happened before, or worrying about what might come. In doing so, they miss the only time that is truly real, this moment. To be present means to fully live what is happening right now. It sounds simple, but it can be difficult. Our thoughts are like waves, pulling us in many directions. But presence is like an anchor. It brings us back. It reminds us that life is not found in the past or the future. It is here, in this breath, in this step, in this heartbeat. When you are present, even small things become rich. Drinking a cup of tea, listening to the sound of rain, watching someone smile. These moments are not just passing time. They are life itself. And when you truly see them, you feel more alive. Being present also changes how we relate to others. When you are really there with someone, not just listening to their words, but truly seeing them, they feel it. They feel safe. They feel respected. And something deep opens between you, something that cannot be created through effort alone. In Buddhism, we see presence as a kind of wisdom. It is not just attention. It is a way of living with care, with depth, with heart. It allows us to meet each moment with honesty, even if that moment is difficult. We stop avoiding, we stop rushing, and we begin to see the truth in front of us. Some people think presence means doing nothing, but it is the opposite. Presence brings clarity. When you are fully here, your actions become more natural, more kind, more skillful. You don't react blindly. You respond with understanding. You live not as a machine, but as a human being, awake and aware. This way of living does not require special tools or long hours. It only asks for sincerity, a willingness to come back again and again to where you are. Even if your mind wanders, you can return. That return is the practice. And in that return, the soul finds its home. No one wants to suffer. Pain, loss, confusion, these are things we try to avoid. We wish for ease, for happiness, for peace. But in truth, suffering is a part of every human life. And while it is difficult, it also holds great power. In fact, for many people, suffering is the beginning of their spiritual journey. When everything is going well, we rarely ask deep questions. We move through life without stopping. But when we experience pain, when something breaks, when we lose someone, when we feel empty inside, we are forced to pause. And in that pause, something new can begin. Suffering can break the shell that covers the soul. It can shake us so deeply that we begin to see life in a different way. What once seemed important may no longer matter. What we once ignored may suddenly shine with meaning. This shift does not come from books or teachings. It comes from inside, from the way suffering opens the heart. This is not to say suffering is good. It is not something we should seek. But when it comes, and it always comes, we can choose how we meet it. We can run from it, or we can listen to it. We can harden, or we can soften. We can fall into bitterness, or we can grow in wisdom. In Buddhism, we speak of the first noble truth, that life includes suffering. Not because life is bad, but because everything changes. Health becomes sickness. Youth becomes age. Gain becomes loss. When we see this clearly, we begin to understand the nature of life. And in that understanding, we begin to wake up. Suffering teaches us what really matters. It humbles us. It brings us closer to others, because we begin to see that everyone suffers in their own way. The heart becomes more open, more gentle. And in that gentleness, the soul finds space to grow. You may not see it right away, but every moment of pain holds a seed. If you care for it, if you stay with it, it can become a flower, a new way of seeing, a new way of living, a quiet strength that does not depend on anything outside of you. This is one of the deep mysteries of the spiritual path. Sometimes what hurts the most can also guide us the most, if we are willing to walk through it with courage. In today's world, we are surrounded by choices. More products, more opinions, more activities than ever before. Life can become full, not in a rich way, but in a heavy way. Too many things, too much noise, too many demands. Many people feel tired, even if they don't understand why. Often, the answer is simple. We have forgotten the value of simplicity. Simplicity is not about giving up everything. It is about returning to what truly matters. It is about making space for the soul to breathe. When life becomes too full of things we do not need, we can no longer hear what is most important. Our attention is pulled in many directions, and we lose our center. When you begin to live more simply, something changes inside. You begin to notice the small joys again, the taste of food, the color of the sky, the quiet moments between tasks. These are not just little pleasures. They are signs that you are alive and that life itself is enough. Simplicity also means honesty. It means living in a way that matches your heart, not just your habits. Many people fill their lives with busyness because they are afraid to slow down. But in that slowing down, we find freedom. We no longer need to impress others. We no longer need to chase what we do not really want. We can stop. We can breathe. We can begin again. In Buddhist tradition, monks live simply not to suffer, but to see clearly. By having fewer things, they can focus on what is inside. But you don't need to be a monk to live with simplicity. Anyone can choose to let go of what is not necessary. Anyone can choose to live in a way that supports peace rather than stress. Ask yourself, what do I really need? What brings quiet joy, not just short excitement? What helps me feel grounded? These questions are not about rules. They are about returning to the center of your life, to the place where the soul speaks. When you live simply, you are not missing out. You are tuning in. You are turning toward what is real, what is lasting, what is true. And in that space, the light of the soul shines more clearly. Many people believe that spiritual awakening is something grand, something that happens in a temple or during a special event. But the truth is, the soul often wakes up in the middle of ordinary life. Not in silence on a mountain, but while washing dishes, walking to work, or speaking with someone you love. Spirituality is not separate from daily life. It is not a place we visit. It is the way we live, the way we see, the way we respond to each moment. Every action, no matter how small, holds the possibility of awakening, if we are present and if we care. When you brush your teeth, are you really there or thinking about something else? When you eat, do you taste your food or just move through the habit? These simple acts are not empty. They are full of life. But we often miss them because we are waiting for something more spiritual. The truth is, awakening does not need special conditions. It needs sincerity. When you treat each moment with respect, with attention, you begin to see that there is no ordinary moment. Every moment is new. Every moment is a door. When you speak with someone, do you truly listen? Not just to their words, but to their heart. That is a spiritual act. When you fold laundry with care, or clean your home with gratitude, you are already practicing a deep kind of awareness. You are saying, this moment matters. In Buddhist temples, even the way we walk or serve food is done with quiet attention. Why? Because how we do something shapes the heart. When we rush, we miss life. When we slow down and stay connected, we return to the soul. The world teaches us to focus only on big things, goals, achievements, big changes. But the soul whispers to us in the quiet moments. It does not shout. It invites. And that invitation can be heard in the sound of water, in a shared glance, in the feeling of sunlight on your skin. You don't need a perfect life to walk a spiritual path. You only need to be here, fully, with whatever you are doing. When you bring your whole heart into each moment, the path appears, not far away, but right where you stand. A spiritual path is not something we visit once and leave behind. It is something we walk each day, step by step. There is no final place to arrive, no perfect version of ourselves to become. Instead, there is the practice of living with awareness, with care, with peace. This path does not ask us to be someone else. It asks us to return to who we truly are. It is not about changing the world outside, but about changing how we relate to it. Life will still have challenges. People may still be difficult. Situations will still rise and fall. But when you walk with awareness, everything begins to feel different. You start to see clearly, not through the eyes of fear or desire, but through the eyes of the soul. You begin to respond, not react. You listen more. You rush less. You stop searching for peace, because peace becomes how you move through the world. Walking this path does not mean you never feel pain. It means you meet pain with honesty and without losing your balance. It means you see joy, not just in big moments, but in small, quiet ones. It means you become a little more patient, a little more kind, not because you try hard, but because your heart is softened. Sometimes you will forget. That is natural. The mind will wander. Old habits will return. But the path is always here, waiting. The next step is always in front of you. And each time you return, you grow a little stronger, a little clearer, a little more at peace. You don't need to walk fast. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone else. The spiritual journey is not a race. It is your own rhythm, your own unfolding. Whether you are cooking a meal, walking in the rain, or sitting quietly, you are practicing. You are walking the path. And as you continue, something gentle begins to grow inside. A trust in life, a connection to something greater, a calm that cannot be taken away. This is the gift of living with awareness. Not a perfect life, but a true life. Not a life without struggle, but a life rooted in peace. The soul does not ask for more. It asks only that you walk with it, one step at a time. If you have come this far, I offer you my deepest thanks. Listening to these reflections is not just about gaining knowledge. It is about touching something quiet and true within yourself. That takes openness. That takes heart. And I honor that in you. The spiritual path is not always easy. It asks for honesty. It asks for patience. But even in small steps, even in gentle ways, it brings light. Light not from outside, but from the soul itself. I hope that something shared here has helped you remember that light in your own being. Even just a little. There is no single way to walk this journey. Each person's path is their own. You may find your way in nature, in silence, in conversation, or in simple daily life. What matters is not how fast you go, but that you continue to return to what feels real, to what brings you peace, and what brings you home to yourself. I am deeply grateful to those who have supported this channel, with kind comments, with likes, with subscriptions, and even with super thanks. These gestures may seem small, but they help this space remain alive and welcoming for others who are also searching. Your presence here truly means a great deal. If anything you've heard has touched your heart, I warmly invite you to stay connected, to continue walking this quiet path together whenever you feel ready and however you choose. Whether you come back tomorrow or much later, know that you are always welcome here. May your days be gentle. May your heart stay open. And may you always find your way back to that still place inside, a place beyond words, where peace lives and the soul feels free. Thank you truly for sharing this time.